What up, world? It's your man Jordan. This is Generation Now, where we talk everything from sports to current events to whatever you think is noteworthy within the culture. And today I'm going to start a new segment that I have, and it's called Ranking Every Album. So, what I'm going to do with this segment is choose like my favorite artists or artists that I feel like were really influential in their musical genre, and I'm gonna take every album that they made and I'm gonna rank every album. So today I'm gonna start with somebody who I feel like is one of the best producers slash rappers in hip hop history. A guy that changed the game in his own way, Kanye West. So I'm gonna rank every Kanye West album. So number 10, and just to let you know, I'm ranking all of his solo projects and the two projects collaborative efforts he did. One of them with Jay-Z, and then one of them with Kid Cudi. So that brings it to 10. 8 solo and 2 collaborative projects. I'm not doing Cruel Summer. I feel like that's a compilation. There's too many other influences there to really call it a Kanye album. So number 10, The Life of Pablo. So this was 2016. This was coming off the success of him partnering with Adidas, and he was in the midst of dropping Yeezy Season 3, which is like his clothing line. Some people say it's overpriced, whatever. But I feel like Kanye gave us a really eclectic project. It was really feature driven, which is not new for Kanye because he flies people out to Hawaii and different places to work. A lot of the who's who in the industry comes out and they contribute, and sometimes it makes an album, sometimes it doesn't. So this is one of those things. But honestly, man, this one felt a little bit jumbled, a little bit distracted to me. In the press run for the album, I think Kanye made it known that this was like a gospel project, quote unquote. And you could definitely hear the Chance the Rapper, Midwest you could definitely hear that influence on the album. But on some of the other songs, I could kind of hear like Ye, he didn't write some of those verses. Like and maybe in the past he had other people writing for him or helping him and stuff like that. But it always sounded like Kanye. Now a lot of these verses, it sounded like the artist who wrote it. I know there's been a lot of side high Prince going on and Drake and other artists. So you could kind of hear that now. It's weird. It was weird. It seemed like maybe he was more focused on the fashion. Because he always had a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of producers, but it always felt like authentically him. But there were a few bright spots on the project for me, and 30 Hours, No More Parties in LA, and FML with Young Thug on there. Those were the ones I felt like stood out to me. And a lot, and again with Kanye albums, you kind of got to give them some time to grow on you or whatever. And it's been 3 years, so yeah. But this one, it kind of left a little bit to be desired. So it's number 10. Number 9, Watch the Throne. 2011. This is the collaboration with Jay and Ye. Two of the top tier hip hop artists, especially at that time. Kanye was like on fire. Jay, I wouldn't say he was on fire, but he always had that you always look at him as the top tier artist in hip hop. But what's crazy to me, I remember thinking at that time was like Kanye's popularity, his production, like influence, just his vibe, like really was carrying that project. I feel like Jay needed him more than Ye needed Jay. It's weird, but I felt that way at that time. And if you could kind of compare it to like an NBA championship team, it would be like Kanye was the Finals MVP on that team. The things that we can't expect from Kanye, like sonically, like the long beats and the beat change halfway through, they are there on this album, but they're not as prominent as they would be if it was like a Kanye project. So it's kind of like it's a little bit safer, less chances taken, but like it's a few standouts for me. Gotta have it, and No Church in a While on my shit. But I feel like a lot of these songs, including those ones, are songs that Ye probably could have made without Jay, and they might have even been better. And I feel like that kind of is what degrades the project a little bit to me. Jay is a phenomenal rapper. Was one of my favorite rappers growing up, But this project, and just during that time, he wasn't like, I don't feel like he was at the highest level. Even though Niggas in Paris was the shit and was a huge single, and they toured off of that. Yeah, but I feel like Watch the Throne could have been a little bit better. So it's number 9 for me. Number 8, Yay. This is the 2018 effort from Kanye. This is coming into a time in his career that's kind of crazy because it's more about headlines and controversy, and it's overshadowing what he's doing with the music and the fashion, even. But I feel like amongst his fans, the expectation for for this Yay album, was, I don't know, mediocre compared to like the other expectations. It was like he was doing a 7 track albums during the month of June, which was like Pusha, Tayana, Nas, his album. And he was doing all these different projects, and they all had 7 songs, and he was doing most of the production on them. So it kind of felt like, the expectation should be like, he has a lot going on right now. I don't know if he, you know, if he can really focus all his energy on his music. But I do feel like the 7 tracks kind of worked well for him on this one, just because it didn't give him a chance to give any type of filler. It kind of had, you gotta attack it and you gotta get it like right there. It's only 7 songs, but I thought about Killing You was one of my favorites, honestly, because it's really dope because it explores like a realm of what you could call, I guess, honesty, and it points out like the distortions that you can have in your mind, even towards somebody that you say that you love. And I feel like it's dope that he, took the chance, and that's taking a chance to say, some of the things that he said. Because a lot of people are like, wow, how could you feel that way about some, because it feels like the song is aimed or for Kim. You know what I'm saying? Like it's meaning, like the song feels like it's aimed towards her. And there are other songs, I Knew You Wouldn't Leave, that are aimed to Kim, and it's a decent project. I feel like it's more meaningful than I thought it would be, considering all the media stuff, the blitz that he was on prior to all of this. So I feel like he delivered based on the workload that he was taking upon himself and all the stuff he had going on with the media. So it's a solid project overall. It definitely speaks about mental illness, and I think that's dope. Because a lot of people, I feel like a lot of more people than who speak out about it are afflicted by mental issues. I feel like it's a higher percentage than what you hear. So these things are really, really super relatable. So that's why I put it at number 8. Number 7, 808s and Heartbreaks. So this was back in like 2008. This was his first music that Kanye dropped after his mom passed. So I knew that it was going to be like a departure from the sound that he was known for, like the super soulful, lush. Like I knew it was going to be different, and it was different. It was different. It felt really moody, really dark. It felt like a therapy session for Kanye almost. Very melody driven, and like he was actually, this is Kanye singing full songs as a singer for the first time. Like he really like auto tuned his voice out, and like it felt really futuristic. This was my introduction to Kid Cudi at the time, and this album honestly was probably like the influence for a lot of the new wave of rappers. Few of the songs actually felt like they gave birth to Travis Scott, to be honest with you. Yeah, this project definitely didn't have like a warm reception at the time for a lot of hip hop fans, because they didn't. I don't think that's what they wanted from Kanye at the time. But this album has aged like really, really nicely. Like, yeah, I definitely feel a lot of these songs more than I felt them at the time, and the emotion that he's conveying. He was mourning. It was like this is different. This is a whole different thing. The Pinocchio story, that right there really hit me heavy. So yeah, I feel like he achieved what he was trying to achieve. He pushed the boundaries. He opened the doors for other new artists, like he always does. I mean, this project is definitely Definitely higher than I would have ranked it maybe 5 years ago. But like I said, we splitting hairs here. This is like Kanye has one of the best catalogs of music in hip hop as far as I'm concerned. So I feel like I'm splitting hairs, but this project definitely is nice for sure. I almost feel bad for putting it in number seven. Okay, so number six, The College Dropout. Now I know as a Kanye fan, there are other Kanye fans out there probably like, "What are you talking about?" But like I said, man, this guy has a lot of quality music. And it's hard to rank these things. This is a challenge. I really was like going back and forth, switching the orders. Okay, so this is Kanye's debut album, lead single, Through the Wire, introducing you to Kanye, talking about the car crash. Definitely a nice flip on the fact that he had his jaw wired shut. It's just a bunch of stuff that parallels. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The soul samples on there were crazy. Content wise, I feel like it shifted the culture because he wasn't rapping about being in the streets. He was rapping about wanting to be, being an underdog and wanting to overcome those things. Rapping about his mom, rapping about his family, giving a lot of feeling, like giving his feelings. And fashion wise, he shifted the culture. Everybody's wearing tall tees and jerseys, and he wearing button ups, the pink polo, the backpack. Like he was different, and I feel like he shifted the culture. I remember hearing through the wire, like, "Yo, this guy is talking about something totally different," and I feel I'm more. I relate to this. I really do relate to this. It made guys understand that you could just be yourself and still be dope, still be at the front of the culture. I mean, top tier, man. But I do feel, like I said, when I'm ranking these albums, it's kind of splitting hairs. So I did feel like there were maybe like three songs on there that didn't, it shouldn't have been there. The Breathe Out song with Ludacris, wasn't really feeling the beat on that one. The Workout Plan definitely shouldn't have been on there. And I'm thinking maybe it had been one other song. But I just felt like it being like the first album, maybe he had a lot of stuff that he wanted to put out into the world. So maybe that's how those songs got on there. And also like compared to his later catalog, a lot of those songs feel like really safe. Like they just kind of stopped where the average fan thinks they should have stopped compared to like his later on music. Like he used it as like it was like art. It was painting. He was doing great works. So I kind of had to dock it down a little bit. That's why it's ranked number six. But I really do feel like it's up there to be a classic. I don't think it is a classic, but it's up there, kind of in that air. Number five, Kids See Ghosts. This is 2018, man, and honestly, bro, I had a lot of trouble with where to rank Kids See Ghosts. It's a new album, and like I said with Kanye stuff, you have to give it some time to grow on you. And so I wasn't able to use my 2020 hindsight on this one as far as like the impact and how it's going to age, but this album was like pretty undeniable. This is one of the ones that came out of those Wyoming sessions where every project kept that 7-song theme. But along with like Pusha's album, Kids See Ghosts is just right as far as like how long the project is. No filler, absolutely no filler on this album. I feel like Cudi and Ye, they fit flawlessly together. And honestly, they at this point they're kind of better side by side than they are solo. It's weird to say that, but that's kind of how I feel about them right now. This album doesn't fit into any one genre, thanks to Kid Cudi. The production is crazy, thanks to Kanye and Mike Dean and Dot the Genius. And I feel like they always use Ty Dolla Sign's voice perfectly. I think Ty should really think about letting Mike Dean and Ye and all those guys like in on his or executive produce or just produce his next project because they really put him in a nice area to shine and like let his voice, the uniqueness of his voice come through. Yeah, man, this is like the caliber of the music that I look forward to hearing from Kanye and Kid Cudi. This right here does not disappoint at all. I feel like every joint on here is supposed to be there and it hits. Everything hits. A lot of people didn't even want this to be a good Kanye album. They didn't want it to be what it is, but yeah, this is definitely a top five Kanye album. And then this is saying it's like just came out last year. I'm talking about crazy. So just imagine how people gonna feel about this album 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So yeah, Kids See Ghosts number five. Number four, Yeezus, 2013. This is after his longest hiatus from music. After him diving deeper into the fashion world, all of the struggles that come along with that, his differences with Nike. He just sounds like a him venting like of like a lot of super deep frustrations and his rebelliousness. Like it's different. It feels like he purposely denied his fans of everything that they have wanted from him. There's not very many soulful samples. It's super synthy, real synthy, almost like mechanical sounding, almost like it wants to sound bad on purpose, but it still sounds good. It's weird. It's really weird. He pulled it off really good. Chief Keef over the electric guitar is something I never knew I needed in my life, but I'm glad it's there for sure. Like 808s, the average rap head was not feeling this when it dropped. And I kind of see that trend emerging with Kanye. Like it's like you don't feel his shit when it drops, but then like a couple years later, it grows. It's like, oh shit. This is Kanye putting no parameters on his creativity. He's making music that's ahead of his time, and this is like the best case in point of that. So I really feel like maybe if I would have done this list a couple years ago, this probably wouldn't be as high. But listening to it a third or fourth time, I'm like, bro, this is probably outside of a few others the closest he has to like a classic. Like this right here is something different. A lot of people did not understand this, but looking at it through the correct lens, like his frustrations, all of those things, he said, I'm not giving you what you want. I'm giving you what I feel like you need. And this is what it was, man. Salute, man, for real. Because this album right here has aged like wine. I feel like it continued to. It will continue to throughout the years. Number three, Late Registration. So this was Kanye's second album. This was 2005. And the production on here, I feel like, is like of like an artisan quality. It feels like it's handcrafted. This is Kanye coming more into his own lyrically. Definitely more polished and more refined than it was on College Dropout. The feature with Nas on We Major is like peanut butter featuring jelly. It's so like right and organic. It's like perfect. Perfect. I mean, crack music. I'm like, it's track after track after track is like perfect. Diamonds Are Forever. Oh my goodness. Even the song with Adam Levine is effortlessly. Like it just works. But D. Ray Davis on the skits, I feel like was unnecessary. I feel like they should have trimmed that fat, and it would have been definitely way more solid. But like I said, man, the production on this thing, man, is like so polished, so polished. It's sample driven still, like how we love to hear from Kanye, but it's so polished. Like, oh my goodness, this is like when a mom and pop graduates a little bit, no pun intended, to become like a Walmart. Like this is like, oh, they got everything up in here. They got everything, and it's right for the right price, and this is what it is. So definitely Late Registration, number three. Number two, Graduation. So this is '07, a simpler time. As the name insinuates, Graduation was like the signaling of the closing of the college theme series of albums that Kanye started his career with. This was also him like just taking off into the atmosphere. as an icon. Really, really, this is like when he became a global sensation, worldwide tours, arenas, just craziness. And I feel like how I've graded a lot of the other albums on here, this album only has maybe one song that shouldn't have been there. Drunken Hot Girls, I feel like it could have left it off. But otherwise, this is like a classic track list. Like, this is definitely a classic album. This is the Kanye that people are referring to when they say they miss the old Kanye. This is him. Everything on this album reminds you of a simpler time. The samples, just even at the beginning, "Good Morning," that is like one of the craziest samples. The singles, I mean, everything there is just like reminds you of a time that's like, wow, like I wish I could go back. The nostalgia on this one is like really strong for me. Flashing Lights, I feel like it's timeless. The subject matter, the imagery, all of that. The production is unmatched. This is a classic album. At the time, I think a lot of people felt like it wasn't long enough. It's kind of short, but I feel like less is more definitely works, and it's in effect here. This album checks every single box for me. The singles have replay value, even stronger, which I kind of felt at the time was like one of the weaker single. But it felt like Kanye doing what he does best. He's pushing the limits. He's testing his boundaries to see like where he could take this thing. Graduation, man, like to me, it's like it's a classic. It's a ceremony. It's a celebration. This is Kanye. I feel like near his best. This is what the classic, the quintessential version of Kanye. This is what people are referring to. So Graduation, number 2, and number 1, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, 2010. Man, so the sentiment among Kanye fans at that time, it was kind of like when Michael Jordan went, like he retired and went to go play baseball. There was like a anticipation of his return and a desire for him to get back to rapping again. And this is by his own assertion. The reception of 808's, the lukewarm reception, that My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy had to be his born in the USA type of moment, like his return, his triumphant return to music, to rap. And I feel like he really delivered, bro. This is like creme de la creme production. I'm talking about high level production, crazy introspective lyrics, the visuals. He dropped a whole full length film called Runaway that went along with the project. The colors, the sounds. It was heavily collaborative, but it felt like Kanye was in full control of this project. He had a million features on that joint, but he was putting the artists in their natural habitat, and they shine really bright. Sometimes they outshine Ye. I mean, Rick Ross's verse on that "Devil in a New Dress" is like an example of artists being in his natural habitat on somebody else's project. This is something that Kanye does better than almost maybe any other executive producer or producer in hip hop. This is a piece of art with like colors and textures. This is something that you see with your ears. This is something that you feel with your heart. I've never heard it at the time. I had never heard it, but it felt familiar on that first listen. On the first listen, it felt familiar, and that's kind of how like you can know that something is classic. It's like I've never heard this, but I know this is right. This is how it's supposed to be. In the usual sense of a classic in hip hop, maybe might not be it, but this is like classic in a way, like apple pie and vanilla ice cream. You know, like classic, like the old Coke bottles, like the glass one that you would see. Like it's classic in that way. Like I'm talking about timeless classic, across genres, across cultures. This is the number 1 Kanye album. This is Kanye at his best. This is Kanye pushing the envelope. This is Kanye pushing himself, pushing the culture. Hey man, it doesn't get any better than this. Any better than this. Number 1, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. All right, man. This is Jordan. This has been Generation Now. And if you want to like and subscribe, I would appreciate it. But if not, hey, charge it to the game. Generation Now, peace.